It's October 1st, we're into spooky season. I am so excited about that, but first I need to wrap up September before I get going with my October TBR. I read 7 books in September, which is honestly more than I thought I would read because I was away for the first 2 weeks of the month and I knew I wasn't really going to get much read then. Granted, 3 of those 7 books are manga, but I had a pretty good reading month, so let's go through what I read. First up, I continued on with the One Piece series with One Piece Volume 3. This is by Ichiro Oda. This is following Luffy on his quest to become king of the pirates. He is just such an adorable, lovable character and I really enjoy reading about him. I don't want to tell you too much in-depth thoughts about the 3 manga I have read because I have got a vlog coming soon for these. It's been pushed back a little bit because I had other ones that needed to overtake it, but there will be a vlog coming. It's scheduled, it's filmed, it's all ready. But I really enjoyed being back with Luffy and also being able to watch the live action after I read this. I haven't continued on with it yet, but I will definitely be doing so because I really enjoyed it. Luffy is just so wholesome and the other characters are just so much fun and I really enjoy their interactions with each other, and seeing that back in Volume 3 was just great. We're just getting more and more established with Luffy's story, building up his crew, meeting new characters, seeing new villains, and meeting new areas of this world as well, which I'm really enjoying. So I really liked this and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. My glasses are filthy. I got new glasses and I'm trying to wear them more to get used to them, but the light of my glasses are not good friends. The second book I finished last month is Spy Family Volume 2 by Tatsuya Endo. This is such a fun series. This is following our main character who is a spy. He has to basically create a fake family in order to achieve his mission, and in doing so he adopts a daughter who can read minds, which he doesn't realise, and a wife who, well, he doesn't adopt the wife, he fake marries a wife who is an assassin, and he doesn't know either of these things, and it's just great because we the reader do know, and seeing Anya the mind reader actually also know about the other 2 is just really funny. The way that she is drawn, I just love reading about her so much. She completely completes this series for me and I really look forward to continuing on with this. She has to be able to get into this very elite school to progress the plot. That's what the plot of this one is about, her trying to get into that school. It's just so much fun. She's so cute and I have a good time with this series, so this is another 4 out of 5 star. Then I transitioned my manga reading experience to Dick Fight Island by Ruben Ike. This book is the plot is that we are seeing this competition that happens in which people have to, if you come first, you lose. If you get what I'm saying. And they basically have to make that happen to each other. They're fighting in pairs, and that is the goal. It's an incredibly unique concept, and I found it an interesting reading experience. I've never read anything like it. I will read Volume 2, so I will read something like it again. I don't really know where Volume 2 is going to take this plot, but we're following multiple different characters, one more than others, who has a little bit of an external plot going on other than just this competition, but the person who wins this competition gets to become like the ruler of this land for a certain amount of time. Yeah, somehow it came out as 3 out of 5 stars because it just entertained me, but interesting reading experience. Then I read The Goal by Elle Kennedy, which is the 4th and final book in the Off-Campus series. I finished a series. I'm proud of myself. This one, each series, or each book in this series follows a different couple, but they're all part of the same friendship group. So this one was kind of like featuring the other romances we'd seen along the way, but mainly centering around one specific couple. I got the ick a little bit with this one because the main characters, the guy couldn't take no for an answer for a very long time, and that no eventually did become a yes. But this main character did not take no for such a long time and was going out of his way to find out, like, the girl he likes' class schedule and to meet her in specific places that he knew she would be, and it was just giving me major ick. The story progressed in a way that I wasn't necessarily a big fan of. I didn't really like the direction it took, and I felt frustrated at times with the reading experience because of that. It was something that if I'd have known about, I mean, I'm not going to say I wouldn't have read it because I wanted to conclude this series, but I would have gone into it with a different head on, I would say. I mean, I'm glad I didn't know about it because I would have definitely spoiled the direction it took, but yeah, it went in a way that I wasn't very interested in reading about it. I did finish it. I do think it wrapped it up nicely. I know there is a kind of brackets 5th book in this series. It's kind of like a follow-up to it all, so I think I have finished the series, but there's like one extra if you want to just see where everyone ends up. So I probably will end up reading that. This is just a very easy series. It's a very smutty series as well. I probably should have led with that. That's kind of one of the main themes of this series, but it's a good time. It's a fun time. And yeah, it's just an easy read. It's why I picked it to read whilst I was away, because I thought it would just be something I didn't really have to pay much attention to. Reality is I was actually just reading smut on a plane, which might not have retrospectively been the best idea, but you know what? It was fine. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I've realised I read 2 pretty smutty books in a row there, but just to spin it around, I then read The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. If you have watched my latest cover to cover episode, you will know this is the book I picked to read that I bought from the Mad Hatter Bookshop. This was a really interesting reading experience. This is a dystopia set in a world in which women are accused / assumed to be witches, so they have all these restrictions put on them, and if they're not married by the time they're 30, then they have to be monitored, and basically they have to kind of have a man take ownership of them to get away with not being monitored. And our main character is experiencing this, but also experiencing this as a black woman and everything that comes with that for her within this society. This book, it made me so mad, but in a way that like it was written so brilliantly to capture that anger at the patriarchy in this book. I'm not going to say too much on this because if you want to know my full thoughts, I do give those in cover to cover episode 8. I don't want to ruin that for anyone that hasn't watched that yet, but this is a system built on fear, and our author is doing such a brilliant job of creating that intensity and that fear, but also showing us how ridiculous it all is, and that just builds to the rage and the frustration. So yeah, this was really, really good. Pretty intense, really good. Also about friendships between women as well, and the strength and the unity in that, and I really liked that side of it. Anyway, gave this 4.5 out of 5, just really, really good. Then I read Madam by Phoebe Wynne. I had so many high hopes for this. This is a dark academia. It's following a teacher who teaches classics. She moves to the Scottish Highlands to teach at this very elite school. It's not as it seems though, and there's some dark stuff going on. I really thought this was going to nail the atmosphere and just be such a good dark academia with like a feminist side to it as well. It definitely could have been that. The main character is such a flake. She is so passive and so frustrating to read about. There are severe injustices going on at this school that she knows about. She can see it's happening and she does literally nothing. She says that she doesn't agree with things, but then she doesn't actually act on anything, and she is just completely at the whim of everyone else around her. She was incredibly frustrating to read about. I think if you're going to have the situation set up here, you need a character that is going to have that gumption behind them to be able to push the plot forward and feel invested, because I didn't really feel invested in her story. Yes, I wanted a good outcome, but I mainly wanted that for the other characters rather than just for her. I just felt like she wasn't really doing herself any favours, she wasn't able to stand up for herself, and I just generally found her entirely frustrating as a main character to read about within this kind of a plot. What I did like was the way that the threat of this plot, I suppose, was built up, and the thing that was strange about this school and very wrong about this school. I really thought that was introduced in quite an interesting way and wasn't something I'd read about before, and I wanted to kind of explore that a little bit more by the end. I felt like the ending was a bit unsatisfying, to be honest. I don't know if it opens it up for another book, but it wasn't, for me, what I was hoping. It kind of went towards a direction where I was like, okay, I could deal with this, and then it took another direction and I was like, not such a fan of that. But I think the concept was clever. I just don't think it was executed in a way that I enjoyed. The writing for me was not the one, and the main character was certainly not the one, and I think you just need to have a strong main character in a book like this, and it didn't, so I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Then finally I read Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. This is by Satoshi Yagasawa and is translated by Eric Ozawa. This is such a lovely wholesome read. This is following our main character who is not in a good place, and her uncle calls and asks if she wants to live above his bookshop in exchange for working there. So she goes and does that. She's not a reader at this point, but in doing so she discovers a love for books, and this starts a journey for her. It's really wholesome and just kind of heartwarming and just a lovely reflective type of novel. It's very calming. There are some darker themes within it that conversations are raised around, but ultimately it's about a love for reading, and it's about what that love for reading can do for other people and how reading can build a community and a society, and then the characters that we meet and their stories as well as that. And I just think it was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. That is my September wrap up. It's definitely a smaller one than I have in previous months, but I feel like October's going to be a pretty big one because I'm gonna read so much in October. I know I am. I love reading horror books in October and I have got so many that I have just been absolutely desperate to start during this season. I am also doing 2 Patreon readathons in October. I've got one actually happening today on the day of filming this. I'm just about to start it. And then another one happening at the end of the month that's gonna be a 7-day long readathon with live shows on 6 of those 7 days. So that's gonna be a lot of reading, which I'm really excited for. If you would like to join in on that and just have some reading motivation, just some company and some fun, that is all linked down below and it's available to all tiers, so you can join from £1. I want to say a massive thank you as well to my patrons for making every video I film possible, because I wouldn't be able to do all of this and be able to go to the places and create the content that I do without the support of my patrons. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my wrap up. Let me know how many books you read in the comments below and what they were and what your best book of the month was. I will see you in the next one.